Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're here to discuss articles from what we call the Green Page, and that you can find at cmuptm.blogspot.com. Articles about entertainment and the world in general. Starting off with something from Hollywood.
Yeah, I'll talk about this one. So this article is called, excuse me, it's called Drama Behind Reality TV Cameras Puts Producers on the Line. It's by Chris Garlock, and it is on the AFL-CIO.org. So basically, reality TV workers are pissed. They are protesting their poor working conditions outside the Real Screen Conference in Washington, D.C. at the Hilton. And they're complaining, in the words of one reality TV worker, about, quote, incredibly long hours, many of them unpaid, no sick days, no health insurance, no job security, and constant stress. The protest was organized by the Writers Guild of America and targeted against ITV Studios, which is a UK-owned television production company. And this particular action is part of an industry-wide effort to organize some 2,000 reality TV workers in New York City.
Oh, New York. Sorry, I said Hollywood.
Oh.
It's about Hollywood.
I mean, it's
a bigger
Hollywood-esque, definitely.
That's so true.
So this article was notably one-sided because it's from the AFL-CIO.
I guess, yeah.
You know, it didn't really offer a whole lot of evidence to support what they're saying. It just kind of had people in quotations saying like, "Oh, there's all this intimidation. There's all this."
Are you calling Savita Karshi a liar?
No, I'm just saying that. I just don't. I'm not saying that it's not true that it happens. I just, the article is totally one-sided. So.
Yeah. I guess you're right. I was just like,
corporate world.
ITV Studios.
I'm sure it's terrible. And what I found most egregious about it was that the employees of this company of ITV that are writers had almost 4 years ago had voted to organize. Right? They've already joined the union. And yet, ITV has completely refused to negotiate with the union for the contract, which is like, I don't know. I think that's illegal. Like, I don't think that's.
Yeah.
I think that's completely illegal.
I don't know how that works.
So, well, I mean, they are members of the union. The union the union gets to stand in basically for all of the employees and say, no, you're not going to talk to the employee about what benefits they're going to receive.
Right.
You have to talk to us.
Right.
And I wonder if it's because it's a UK company that they have some sort of ability not to do that. But I don't know. Just the whole article seemed like, if that's true, how is it true? Right? Like, so a lot of this stuff, if it's really unlawful what they're doing in terms of like wage theft, et cetera, if that's all true, how is it true? Like, not don't just tell me that it's true. Tell me what's actually happening. Give me numbers. Give me details.
Yeah.
And this article didn't really do that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not doing that either.
No.
Sorry.
I have no details to offer. No details to offer.
But it does seem likely that they are. I mean, this could be because I am who I am. It seems likely that they're right. It seems likely that they're getting screwed over, especially in light of the article we read last week about the Shaws of Sunset, I think it was called, about the editors getting screwed over, where there was a little more evidence in that about them not getting any overtime and not getting any.
Mm-hmm.
It seems likely that these companies are screwing them over, although I agree that this article would be stronger if they provided specific evidence. Like, for example, is there a cutoff after 40 hours where they don't get any overtime in this case, but everybody's working overtime or something? I mean, like, any evidence would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it reminded me of the article we just talked about in the last segment about the production costs of TV,
right?
And how basically the model is you find a show that works, like The Voice, then you make 1,000 of those shows, and just hope that they get some play, and there's a reality TV show about everything today, and there are tons of people looking for work, and the people behind the camera are pretty much expendable, and because they just know that, like, especially in New York City, like, someone else will do this job. It doesn't matter, like, how shitty it is. Like, it's better than being unemployed. And there's actually, we were also talking about web series in relation to that article about production costs. And there's this really funny web series that I saw recently called Whatever This Is, and it's about people working for like a reality TV production company and just like how hellish it is, and they work for like the meanest person ever, and they have like the worst hours, and it's like totally menial labor. And so I totally believe that this is the case. Based on that, reality, based on that web series that I saw.
Fictional web series. He's so right about that.
I should know more about this. I had a friend who worked on a reality show in Hollywood, and he complained a lot, but I'm not sure that. I just don't know.
He was just a whiner.
Well, maybe.
You never know.
Maybe.
I do know some people who worked on Dance Moms, and they were like, it's the worst thing.
Although they were working on Dance Moms specifically, that seems pretty rough.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much the same, I'm sure.
Probably.
But you were trying to say something. We both interrupted you.
All I was going
Kevin, I wanted to. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to offer you the deal of a lifetime, but it's passed by. But I would like to just mention that there was I just thought this was funny. It's a little bit of a tangent, but it's a comment that one of our students made on it, and he said that this article really brings up how much input do the participants of these reality TV shows get in camera placement. And I thought, no, you're wrong. That article's not about that. He's like, because I don't want a camera in the bathroom with me. And I was like, did you read this at all? So I just wanted to mention that because you're
Can we mention
exactly
that person by name? Is that,
wrong.
No, let's not.
I think we should.
It was me.
Instead, we should move on.
It was her.
So yeah, it stinks to be an underpaid writer in any field, and I don't know. I hope that there's another subsequent article about this that's a little more informative.
I'm sure there's more coverage of this. This
Probably.
can't be
We
it.
just failed. We failed in our job to suss it out.
I mean, it was from the union website, so probably we could have looked at, I don't know,
Yeah.
the
Next
company's website that said they're doing a great job.
Next time.
Next time, we won't do that.
Well, if you don't make millions in reality TV, you can make millions on Broadway. They say.
Or can you?
Oh wait, maybe not.
I've put all my money into Broadway.
I can't
I'm starting
believe
to
that's
feel
the Goblin's
bad.
costume.
Let's talk about what it is.
It doesn't look great. Okay, so this article is called 4 out of 5 musicals fails their investors. It's from the New York Post by Gregory Bressinger, something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, it's called Bressinger, maybe. No. So it is basically about the fact that 4 out of 5 musicals fail their investors. I mean, that's pretty much it. He's talking about how 20% of musicals kind of have to carry the weight for the other failed ones, and there are many reasons that musicals can fail. But usually, I mean, one guy boils it down to basically you can't get people to see a musical they don't want to see, even if it's something that's critically acclaimed.
Right.
It's just not going to work. So
Maybe especially if it's critically acclaimed.
it could be. I mean, that was one of the things. We actually have another article we can introduce in a minute that's also about this. Anyway, but he also talks about that from 1994 to 2014, Broadway musicals were analyzed to get this data, and that they kind of pointed the finger at reasons why musicals maybe don't succeed. Producers don't have the right material, so it's a bad book, it's a bad play, which makes sense. They fail to understand the market and the importance of word of mouth, and that sometimes the shows are in the wrong houses, so they're just in the wrong place for whatever reasons. And also that they forget that their target audience member is usually a woman in her mid-40s. Although I did think even saying that, I was like, that made me sort of wonder whether, I mean, they're right, but it was like, how much do you understand that market? Because maybe I'm just sensitive to this stuff, but I was like, a woman in her mid-40s isn't one thing either. You know what I mean?
Right.
That made me kind of uncomfortable. But
I mean, maybe, if a woman in her mid-40s is gonna, like, hear about a show and make this face, like,
yeah.
it's probably not, and I imagine that most women in their mid-40s don't really have a thing for Spider-Man, for instance.
Probably. I mean, that seems like something you'd take your kids to or your family to.
Right.
And before we get too far, we should probably just intro the other article, which is about almost exactly the same thing. It's from NPR by Jeff London, and it's called How Broadway is Losing Its Middle Ground. And it's almost exactly the same, although they say only 1 in 4 Broadway shows turns a profit, so a little better for them, but they're probably analyzing slightly different
Only
data.
4 to 1, not 5 to 1.
Yeah, so it's bad, but not as bad. And they talk about how this fall two of the most highly anticipated musicals, Sideshow, which is a revival, and The Last Ship, which I guess Sting is involved in. So how could you not go? That both of them they've closed early, they've basically lost everyone's investments, but that both of them seemed interesting to people. Like
Right.
Sideshow was really critically acclaimed, and The Last Ship had Sting in it, and still.
It didn't have Sting in it.
Well, it eventually did.
They put him in it to get a bump.
I should say that it had
Those
elements.
sneaky guys.
I should have said it had elements
gross.
of Sting. It had Sting's work
Yeah.
until it had real Sting in it as a Hail Mary. They said.
So yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I'm just like, I don't know. I who cares?
Yeah.
To me, like Broadway, who cares? Musicals, like the missionary position of art. Like I just don't
Yeah.
really care.
I like that. I didn't hear that before. Yeah, I mean, well, Broadway is more of, like, it's funny because we call Broadway, like, for-profit theater, right? Like, a lot of us come from not-for-profit theater backgrounds. We come from, you know, the regionals or, like, even like, more avant-garde kind of street theaters that aren't out there, that do not exist in order to make money.
Right.
Whereas almost all the shows that we're talking about here are strictly for-profit commercial ventures. They gather investors, they put in a bunch of money and expect to get a bunch of money out.
Which is crazy. Like if you're gonna work somewhere as like soul-sucking and commercial as Broadway, like you can't. Like, and you're not even making money. Isn't that like the worst of
Well,
both?
the people that worked on the shows still made the money. So I want to point that out. Like the people who worked on the shows, who built the sets, who made the costumes,
They still make the money.
they still make a living, and that's like the one good thing about it to me. Like I really don't care if the investors make money.
Yeah.
Of course, you know it's not a lot of job security to say that 4 out of 5 shows fail, but that doesn't mean that they aren't a hit, right? Like a hit on Broadway is 100 shows. Doesn't matter whether you make your money back. Doesn't mean anything.
Right.
You do 100 shows, you're called a hit. A success is something different, but that's the investors getting money back. But like they said with Spider-Man, because the production costs were so high, they would have had to average 1.5. What did they say? 1.5 million a week for
Which
3 years.
I was confused. Maybe I'm doing this math wrong, but they said it would have had to make that much money, but that it cost $80 million to make. And so maybe they're including
because
things
there's
like running costs.
Continuing costs.
Okay, that must be it. Because it was like that math is not right. But
Yeah.
maybe it was like continuing costs that they weren't explaining. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's weird though because it leads me to believe that everybody who invests in Broadway is a terrible investor. Like, ignore everything that they have to say because those are terrible odds. Even if you are going to make a lot of money out of one of your 5 investments, that's a terrible strategy. Or 2, that they just have so much money that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like and that really what they're doing when they invest in Broadway is investing in something more than just a money-making opportunity. They're investing because they want to go to the opening night thing, or like because it's just their thing. I really don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it just spending money on something you like. You know what I mean? It's like if it's not an
It
investment
seems
per
that
se.
way, but like, how is that possible? I mean, it's $1 billion business, and let's not forget it. This is
Right.
$1 billion a year business. It's the single largest tourist attraction in New York City is Broadway. In terms of making money,
Yeah.
which is like
It's
how those two things can be true
Yeah.
is like it just seems like economics turned into bizarro economics. Forget voodoo economics.
But maybe the ones that you're making money on, maybe it is like pure gambling for really high stakes gambling for people who have a ton of money. Because maybe the idea is like, well, I could be investing in the next Phantom of the Opera, which is it's not only making up for these 4 that failed, it's times 20 or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's like I might make billions and billions of dollars, or I might lose this $1 billion, but to me that's not that much because I have so many dollar bills.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, is there, like, if that's what they're really after is some other unattainable than, like, actually making money, if that's what all those super rich people are looking for, why can't we tap into that from the not-for-profit side? Why can't we offer, and we do to a certain extent, but, like, I don't know, personal sponsorships or something that gets that money out of those people's hands and out of going to Broadway for a similar payoff. Like, yeah, you get to be a part of this product that's like really flashy and different than anything else you might invest in. And maybe you're not making any money out of it. Like you're just giving us the money and we're using it to create this art. But likely you weren't going to make any money out of it on Broadway either. So
Right.
why not
What's
just
the
give it to
difference?
us? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a funding stream there. I don't know how to get it. But.
Yeah, but maybe it's also like partly about notoriety and attaching your
Oh,
name to something.
sure.
You know, it's like a fame chasing sort of thing. Also,
Prestige.
yeah.
It's a prestige investment.
because it's like your project might be cool, but I'm not gonna get
Right.
anything out of it. So what's the point? I don't know.
I don't know.
Dude, 50 Shades of Grey, the musical.
Is that not a thing already?
Get on it.
You know what else isn't a thing?
It's not a thing.
Is MLK the musical?
Or-
Segue.
Right. Why is
That was
that
very
the
good.
case?
Or
So our last article for the day is from a personal blog, I believe, called
Yeah.
The Well-Tempered Ear by a guy named Jacob Stockinger. And he's putting out to the world classical music, why hasn't anyone written an opera about Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement? And really the only thing to talk about with this article is that somebody totally has.
somebody did.
So,
like there's like the fourth comment. I'm just gonna read it because it's my favorite part. It just says, Jake wrote this. Someone sent me the link to your blog today. It is an intriguing question, but I actually have an answer. An opera based on the life of Martin Luther King has been written by me, John Bauer. It is titled The Promise, and it was performed in Memphis with the orchestra and cast members from the Rudy E. Shite School. Can't be shit. Shite School of Music.
It's not the shit school of
It's
music.
not even the shit School of Music at the University of Memphis. And a bunch of other people commented and were like, yeah, I was in the MLK opera.
Really? That's
Yeah,
I
a
know
bunch of
nothing.
people were
I know
like,
nothing about opera, so I was like, I don't know why.
Yeah, but
I was
also
hoping
like,
he would tell me.
but he didn't.
He didn't tell me.
But also like, what a ridiculous question. Like it's, why don't you write it?
I-
It's like, if it's something interesting to you, then do it.
Well, the
Like,
article was like he poses that question, and he's like, it would make such a great opera. It has all these amazing elements that this amazing story, blah blah blah. And then he's like, then he proposes the contemporary composer John Adams could write it,
Right.
and he's like, he did these other biopic.
But then he's also
operas.
like, is John Adams? He wrote operas about all these white guys. Is he a racist? And I was like, well, is that relevant? I mean, I know what he means, but I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
like this was not a compelling argument. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, like, I'm sure, unlike like I said, I didn't realize there had been operas written about Martin Luther King. But I mean, it is interesting that that Selma just recently was the first mainstream feature film biopic to be made about Martin Luther King, and like why aren't there more biopics in popular culture about Martin Luther King? I'm sure there are interesting reasons.
They do talk. He talks very briefly,
Very
and
briefly.
not a compelling way about the fact that it might be problems with getting the rights from his estate. Which is
Yeah,
actually
I mean that's
tricky.
obviously one reason. It could be that people are intimidated by the prospect of trying to represent such a towering and important historical figure.
But I don't really buy that because they just made an opera about Anna Nicole Smith, so like clearly.
Clearly, there are people who are
What is
willing
the
to
title?
take on that
What
challenge.
is the title song from that? We both like soup. Is that what it is?
I hope
what's
so.
that?
Oh my god, that must have been based on. My mind is blown.
Well, so there is an opera out there about MLK. I think we should look into it.
Yeah.
For although I'm not sure that it's the best best thing for our school of music. But I guess it's been produced at the University of Memphis
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
a
in
couple
the
other
shit
places.
school.
And I mean seems like a perfectly like the Memphis was a big player in the civil rights movement. Pittsburgh not so much,
Mhm.
but and go check it out if you're looking for a musical for next season, or an opera rather, not a musical. And I guess we're gonna
The
call it
Promise
quits.
by John Bauer. Check it out.
By
Yep.
me,
John Bauer, who is a professor of composition and theory at the University of Memphis. So.
Yes. It's very
No.
good.
Yes, I've heard his music. It's amazing.
All right, let's wrap this.
Yes, okay. We're wrapping it up. I'm sorry for the wagon off the tracks there at the end. Wagons don't go on tracks. Nice to talk to you. Please, again, if you want to look at any of the articles we've been talking about, cmuptm.blogspot.com, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.